Hello, hello, welcome. All are welcome here at UU. It's very good to see you. I'm thankful for the rain. This is one of our, what do you call it, traditional or yes. roots-based songs, roots in UU. And it is written in Hungarian, and there's also an English translation. Yes. No intro. Let's just start. Okay. Thank you all. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Fayetteville. My name is Paul Scouten, and I'm in the Social Justice Committee as well as the Welcoming Committee. Kind of been around here for a little bit. So Unitarian Universalism is a religious tradition that values freedom in religious thought and journey. We uphold the unity of our interconnections, connections to each other, to all of life, and to the precious universe of which we are a part. We affirm the universality of love and hope as we journey together in community. And we welcome you, whoever you are, at this moment and wherever you are in your spiritual journey. For those of you joining us online, welcome. If you are new, please check out our website at uufayetteville.org for more information. If you are new here, we've got our little welcoming cards over here. If this is your first time, if you fill these out there in the seat in front of you, they will get you on our email list and let you know what we're talking about on Sunday before it's Sunday. So later in the service, we will have a time where everyone is invited to come forward and drop a stone, symbolizing a joy or a concern that they may have into the bowl of water. If you have a joy or concern you would like to share, you can find these yellow cards on the seat backs in front of you as well. You can fill those out and then bring them up with you, and they will be shared aloud. Or if you want them to not be shared aloud, you can also just say no on the little spot there that says don't share it aloud. And it'll just be for the team to consider. If you are online, then you can also write your joys and concerns in the comments on the video, but recognize that there's no way for us to keep those private, so they're going to have to be public. If you need any hearing assistance, our AV tech, David, back there, will be glad to help you. He's pretty great about stuff like that. Children are always welcome in our service, and all their noises are just help us remember that we're a growing family. But if you would prefer, there is a staff nursery downstairs, or you can also just step out here where the sound is piped in just the foyer. Remember to silence your cell phones as we enter our service. And thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody. It was about 2 years ago that a good friend of mine, Jeannie True, suggested that we start attending services at UUFF. She knew that our Wiccan coven had fallen apart at the time of COVID, leaving me to look for a new home in which to experience spiritual fellowship. She told me, "I think you'll fit right in." You know, maybe she was right. 2 years later, I'm finding myself looking forward to every Sunday. The mindful discussion groups have provided me with an opportunity to discuss relevant contemporary issues and ideas within a supportive environment. Rather than just becoming more paranoid and anxious about the world, I've learned that there are many more people out there with the same hopes, fears, and good ideas that I can relate to. My greatest joy has been singing in the choir. To be led by such talented music people as Jory and Renee has been an honor. I would sit down in rehearsals thinking, oh my gosh, can we really do this? I actually sound good. Every time I'm thinking that this is just too hard and I'm just not talented enough. And every time when Jory or Renee would point to our section, I would find myself being an integral part of a group of people who actually make beautiful music together. After being part of a pagan circle for over 20 years, it was hard to practice with only my partner or as a solitaire. The web of life has been a wonderful refuge for me. It has allowed me to engage in fellowship with other pagans. I've been able to continue with rituals honoring nature and our ancestors. I'm very much aware as to how much work goes into staging a ritual with so many people involved. My thanks to Natalie and Tressa for all they've done for us. Working on the grounds crew has made me familiar with the plants growing around us here. To work with others who are dedicated to maintaining the natural beauty of our fellowship has been a fascinating and enriching experience. Thank you, Laura, for coordinating our efforts. I'm sure at times we must have seemed like a herd of cats. Nothing worthwhile exists without donations of work, time, and money. We pay back to the fellowship with our smiles, our conversation with others, with the food we bring to the potluck, with the work done by all the various teams, and with our pocketbooks. Now we have the morning offering. This fellowship exists because of personal contributions from folks like you and me. You can give in the basket or online at uufayetteville.org. We look forward to receiving your membership packet. Will the ushers please come forward? And Jory, will you offer some music?
Beautiful. Good morning. If you have an order of service, we're going slightly off script. Things happen. My opening words today, I'm drawing from the book of Psalms. David was one of the many, many poets who contributed to the book of Psalms, traditionally speaking. Poetry has always been a core of human expression. Even before written language, many, many, many of the things that people told and said to each other existed in the holy practice of poetry. Viking sagas, some of the things that are written in the Hebrew Old Testament, even things in the New Testament can read often like poetry. Anything from anywhere can be viewed as a poem. Our message today is going to be on religious pluralism, which doesn't sound very poetic, but I'm going to do my best. From Psalm 98, sing a new song to the eternal. Shout praise, all earth, break into music and song. Praise the eternal with the lyre and song. Let the sea and all within it thunder praise. The world and its inhabitants, let rivers clap their hands, let mountains sing in chorus. Oh, sing a new song to the eternal. Let's sing with our hearts together this morning. Renee?
Good morning, dear ones. Please join with me as we light our chalice this morning by saying, love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and truth, and to help one another, thus do we covenant together.
I always enjoy Melly's services, and she always picks, and they always pick very interesting music and messages for us. So this is from our gray book, 343, and I have some insight and some words on singing and some understanding that I didn't know, so I'm just going to teach you what I learned. In the first verse, there's the word saurian. That's of or a lizard. In the second verse, we're going to take the word infinite and say infinite. Infinite. And in the last verse, it is a lot of historical references in there. And apparently Socrates died from drinking poison hemlock. I didn't know that. And the word rood, Jesus on the rood, is the cross or the crucifix. So all those things, and at this time, would you please rise if you are willing and able, and let's sing A Fire, Mist, and a Planet. Some call it evolution, and seated.
As a community of people that care about each other, we share our various joys and concerns together. This is a time in our service where we celebrate the ritual of that sharing. We invite you to share your ups and downs. You can come to the front and drop a stone for any joy or concern, shared or confidential. You don't have to bring a card to drop a stone. As you drop your stone, may you experience the spreading of love and support. If you filled out a card, this is when you will bring it to me. I'll be standing up at the front. Please make sure that you indicate whether it can be shared or especially if you want it to be held confidential. For those on Facebook, now is when you will enter those in, and please be aware that they cannot be confidential. At this time, I will welcome you to bring your cards, bring your joys, bring your sorrows, bring your hopes and your dreams and the concerns of your heart, and drop them in our bowl so we can share together. The cards today.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Let us drop some stones for the joys that we will experience this coming week, and some for the concerns and other issues that we may have to deal with and face. let's take a minute, just one. Settle yourself however you like. Pray if you do. Don't if you don't. And let's consider all these things that have been shared with us and all the things that haven't. Thank you. Thank you. It says there's supposed to be music, but we already had a lot. So I think now it's my turn. So I am known for being overly excited about things. So when this general topic kind of offhandedly came up during our chalice team meeting, I said, oh, I can do that. I want to do that. And then I tried to do that. Pardon me. So religious pluralism, that's a mouthful in and of itself. And it's a topic that when you start looking at very strict definitions, just sounds like the driest, most uninteresting thing you could possibly imagine. The dictionary definition of religious pluralism, the fact that there even is one, is just the state of being where every individual in a religiously diverse society has the rights, freedom, and safety to worship or not according to their conscience. Okay. That sounds good, right? But that's a dictionary definition if I ever heard one. And dictionaries very seldom translate very well to how we live our lives and how it affects us, really, really. My father-in-law loves to trot out dictionary definitions when we are in discussions about what something or some other thing means or what qualifies as this or that, like our historic argument about peach cobbler. I'm not getting into that here. Needless to say, I don't bring it anymore. But that's a me problem. At its root, religious pluralism is nothing more or less than saying, I can believe something and you can believe something. They can be different, and that's okay. That sounds really easy. The first part is, I believe something, you believe something. Sure. And that's okay. That's the part where everybody leaves. That's the part where people have fights. That's the part where families split up. And that's the part where churches divide. That's also the part where people kill each other. Religious pluralism is one of our new core tenets of UUism, according to everything that happened at Stuff. I love that you all know what I mean. Pluralism in general. Religious pluralism is a particular subset. So what can it do for us, this religious pluralism, this expanding of our acceptance to include things that we don't believe? Well, it gives us freedom to learn, for one. We learn about lots of different faiths here. We learn about nature spirituality, in particular, a lot. We dive into Jewish and Christian roots. We learn about Muslim faith. We hear a lot about meditation, both Buddhist and more secular. So you have the freedom to learn. With religious pluralism, this allows you to learn without the stress of being converted. Some people only want to tell you something to change your mind and make you follow them. If you're one of those people, give it a second. If the only reason you are sharing your viewpoint is to change someone else's, then you are effectively cutting off any ability to hear theirs. That sounds okay if you think that your position is absolutely the right one. I will say what I have to say, and they will change their mind, and everything will be better because they're going to agree with me. The problem with this is none of us are 100% correct about 100% of the things 100% of the time. If we are not open to learn and to listen to other people, then we can't figure out where we're wrong. Nobody likes to be wrong. Feels bad to be wrong. I myself have big issues with being wrong because I feel very responsible. If I am proved to be wrong about something, then I am responsible for misinforming every single person that I told up to that point. And that is a devastating feeling for me. So I am one of those people that if I say something and you say that's not true, you will find me Googling immediately. Not really to prove you wrong, though, but to see if I'm right and to see if I'm not. Now, with things like how many molecules would fit on the surface of a golf ball or what the capital of China is, these are things with definitive answers. Religion is different. Religion doesn't have definitive answers, not concrete. Anyway, that's one of the things that makes it religion and not science. But science also listens, learns, changes, moves, discards, picks up new. If we're not open to that in our religious community, then there's lots of really not cool things that can happen. What's another good thing that can happen? Academic exploration. Well, there's lots of big words in here today that are very academic in nature, but they're not really when you get right down to it. Academic exploration is being able to learn and being able to intake new things, like we just discussed. This kind of exploration is completely lacking from evangelical type religiosity because it does not insist that other people change to meet you. It just learns for learning's sake. The lack of academic exploration, the ability to learn without making somebody else do it too, if you don't have that, you lead often inevitably to proselytization, which is a remarkably ineffective method of conversion, given how vehemently it's practiced. It doesn't require you to affirm the knowledge or to accept its truth in terms of religiosity, just to see that it's there. That's all. Religious pluralism helps us build cultural empathy. Not just in terms of saying, well, that's a cool religious practice they have, but in a deeper understanding of how a culture experiences life. The way people experience religion affects the way they see everything else. Biblically speaking, Jesus said, if you follow me, then you will change. Right? I believe firmly that the man Jesus, or this particular line of thinking, is very, very clear in that following does not mean just walking along, but changing the way a person views the world, in changing the way you interact with other humans, in changing the way that you interact with animals, with your environment, with your religious community, and with those outside it. Changing who you are inside has always been one of those core things with getting into a religion. There's all sorts of rituals and ceremonies surrounding that. We have one too. Go through new UU classes. You have to sign a pledge card, sign the book, and all of those things indicate outwardly what should be an internal change. Those things are personal, they're individual, but in the terms of cultural religiosity, they're cultural. How people who practice a specific religion affects everything about how they interact with each other. If you don't practice that religion and you walk in blindly, we have the potential for miscommunication, for confusion, for offense, both ways. So learning about someone's religion gives you more than just an idea about what God it is, what your tenets are, if you dive deeply into listening when someone else is telling you about their religious experience, you should also be learning about their culture, their community, their family, and how they experience life as a whole. Now, learning all of this does require that you actually listen. And listening, real listening, is more than just hearing words. Cultural empathy requires that we listen openly and not with a mind toward ridicule, dismissal. Those things put a wall between our ability to listen and our ability to understand, and that puts a block in our connection with other people. One of my favorite movies is Practical Magic. There's a quote from one of the ants. If you've not seen Practical Magic, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but practicing witchcraft or other kinds of spell work is a heavy part. One of the younger people is having an issue and decides that she wants to work a spell to fix her problem. Well, she doesn't really look into it very well because her whole life this has been something that her family's been made fun of because of. So she decides to abandon it, leave it alone. She doesn't want any part of that. All it does is mess things up. But when it's convenient, she decides to utilize a practice that she doesn't understand and that she has actively dismissed. And Aunt Jet says, you can't practice witchcraft if you look down your nose at it. We cannot effectively look at practices of other religions if we are at the same time looking down our nose at them as if they don't matter. They matter deeply to the people who practice them. And because of that, how it affects their lives should matter to you. Whether or not you believe those tenets, whether or not you believe in a God, 2 gods, 5 gods, 10 gods, all God, no God, that doesn't matter. What you believe doesn't have to match for you to be able to look at what they believe as something that affects them. Okay? One of my favorite phrases when researching this is cognitive contamination. Go ahead, say that. Cognitive contamination. Pardon me. So, cognitive contamination is when your exposure to different beliefs makes you question your own. Note that there is not a requirement to change your views at the end. It's just knowing that there's something else there. something else to look at, some other way of thinking about things that you haven't been exposed to. It doesn't mean conversion. It just means exposure. So I struggled with a way to present this in maybe a more family-friendly terminology, and I came up with the idea of a potluck. Potluck pluralism, okay? Everybody has their favorite dish. Everybody does. And people will fight over what's the best one. It's usually not green bean casserole, but sometimes it is. Turkey, potato salad, green bean casserole, peach cobbler, curry, okay? Migas. Foods that you might not be familiar with may be some other family's core item. Doesn't mean that yours isn't good. And it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy theirs either. If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. But it's generally considered rude to point at it and say it's gross. Some people may have specific reasons for not eating something. They may be vegan or eco-minded vegetarian. They may have health concerns that prohibit this, that, or the other. They may wish longingly for something they can't have. Some things are just straight up poisonous and we don't eat them. Some things can be poisonous if you don't know how to make them. Who likes poke salad? I do. Some people's choice of religiosity or not is concerned with things that are toxic to them. That's something that we do here very well. We tend to acknowledge people's toxicities. What we don't do very well is acknowledge that not everybody finds them toxic. Some people know how to cook that. Some people have been for years. Some people will never. But religious pluralism says that's okay. What it doesn't do is say that anything is appropriate for our table. I don't care who you are or what culture you come from, a pile of steaming dog poop on the table is pretty universally unacceptable. However, we pretty much all know that, so nobody's going to bring it. Potluck pluralism lets us recognize our commonalities. Some things are going to be all right pretty much everywhere. There's almost nowhere you can go where a bowl of potatoes is going to be rejected, at least not wholesale. Sometimes what we add to things makes them less palatable for other people. You can put butter in it. Now our vegans are left out, as are those with a dairy allergy. You can put bacon in it. Our meat eaters are out, as is anybody who has an obligation otherwise not to eat those things. You can put cilantro in it and have a fight. But all of those things are individual preferences. They're particular items that when put on the table with everything else gives us a broader perspective of what's there. Cognitive contamination doesn't insist that we get rid of our views, but it says, look at them. Why are you doing that? Why do you put this in your potato salad? Why don't you put that? I don't know, it's just never been done before. I mean, that's how my grandma made it, so that's how I'm going to make it for the rest of my days. Okay, cool, but, you know, I like sour cream in mine. That's okay. Sometimes trying new things makes you change your mind. Sometimes it makes you realize, nope, I do not like that. And I'm going to keep doing this because now I know that's not for me. Be careful. Pluralism is not an excuse to cherry pick things with no regard for their cultural reference. You're going to get yourself into trouble that way. If, for example, you have no cultural history with poke salad and you just decide you're going to bring it, some people are going to get sick. Probably you too. Being aware of the cultural connection to other people's stuff is another part of learning to listen. Why do you always bring that god-awful, stupid cranberry stuff with the whole orange in it? Well, one, they may think it's delicious. Two, great-grandpa Franklin made it every year. And we make it every year so we don't forget him. And it doesn't matter if nobody eats it. Though it's nice if they do. Some religious practices rely heavily on historical issues. These things become integral to the practice with people for whom that religiosity has a cultural meaning. If we just take from it willy-nilly, this is a dismissal of the things that make it important to those other people. And you don't even care about what that thing came from. You just like it pretty. You think it's pretty. Fine. But it diminishes the value of that in those people for whom that is really important. Refining our own beliefs is one of the best things about religious pluralism. It helps us decide what we think is really okay, what we think really isn't, why that isn't okay. Why don't you do that? I don't know, it just feels wrong. Okay, that's actually not a good answer. It's a good starting point, but it's not a good answer. Religious pluralism encourages us to look at the whys of other religions. And often we will find that their whys are a lot closer than we think. Without religious pluralism, we have stagnation. Nothing new in, nothing new out. You don't learn, you don't grow, you don't move, you can't change. We have isolationism. We want to keep ourselves separate from everybody else. Make sure we don't get contaminated. Make sure we're not exposed to anything that we don't already know we like. This is dangerous and unhealthy. You eat chicken nuggets every single day for your whole life, that's probably not a good idea. Doesn't matter how safe or used to it you are. You can't hear other people if you've excluded them from the room. You can't listen to what other people are experiencing without having them at the table. Without religious pluralism, we fall prey to superiority. Well, clearly our way is the best way. This is obviously the only real way to practice. Anybody who believes otherwise, well, they just don't know any better. They don't know any better. The battle cry of colonialism. All of these things create a real problem if you are trying to do social justice work. The inability to work for and with others prohibits us from joining with others of similar purpose and leads back to stagnation, that lack of progress, that lack of motion. Not helping does not equal not hurting. If we are not working with, you're working against. I said it. I'll say it again. If you're not working with, you're working against. If you are not willing to at least bolster those who are working for something, you are hindering their progress. When we decide to isolate ourselves religiously from other groups because of tenets of faith, how many gods we think there are, where we think we go when we die, then we are preventing ourselves from engaging in activities with other people that affect the here and now. There are places in this city, in this state, in this country, in this world that are doing amazing work that some people won't look at because the symbol that they put on their stickers isn't the same as theirs. Okay. I think this is a problem, and I think we can change it. Are we ready, though, to have new plates on the table? Are we ready to have new faces in chairs beside us? Are we ready to look at new recipes and decide whether or not we want to try that or whether it's just not for us? Having it at the table is what's important. Having it at the table is what's important. Because when we're all at the table, then we can all work together. Everybody in the kitchen gets to wash dishes. And then everything is clean. So let's sit at the table with each other. Let's share ideas. Let's walk together. Let's respect each other. Let's listen. And maybe you can find something out about yourself that you didn't know before. Maybe it's a recipe for peach cobbler. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melly. Now I'm hungry. Yeah. There is more love somewhere. It's an African-American spiritual made popular by Sweet Honey and the Rock. And a shout out to Dr. Bernice Regan, who just left us this summer. And please let's sing it in the spirit of religious pluralism. Please rise if you are willing and able. One, two. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more Thank you. You may be seated. That was beautiful.
Beloveds, what a wonderful service. Thank you, Melly. I'm ready for some peach cobbler. Let's extinguish our chalice with the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Nope. I think I just speak. I'm just going to talk. I don't have a script or anything, so I'm just going to tell you guys. So thank you guys for coming and everything. I appreciate you guys coming out to us and everything. We got some announcements here. So one thing I did want to point out, so up here we've got on this Thursday a Justice Team meeting. We've actually, as of just the beginning of this meeting, rescheduled that. So we're actually going to be doing that next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. instead. If any of you are interested, the Justice Team is currently working on green social justice, on environmental justice, and working on establishing us as a green sanctuary program and everything. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome to do so. You can hit up me or Dinah or Ben. Where'd Ben go? Yeah, Joanna, any of us. You can come talk to me after Mass or after service. Sorry. I'm coming from a Catholic background. So all right. But we also got Covenant Group, and, you can see these things up here.
I have one.
Oh, yeah, Renee's got something.
On the 17th of November, that's our next choir Sunday.
Woohoo.
That's the next one. And so choir, just show up at 10 a.m. and that's our Trans Day of Remembrance service, where we will also focus on transformation, one of our new core values in UUism. And one more thing, dear ones, I've heard from a lot of you over the past week. I want you to hold yourselves this week. Love yourselves no matter what happens this week. And know that this community holds you up and loves you. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's what I got. So, thanks, guys.
My closing words today come from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson, that's how my dad used to say it, and I was shocked when I came home from college to realize that he even knew who Emerson was. Don't assume. A person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in secret, in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship. For what we are worshiping, we are becoming. Have a great week.
Building bridges between our divisions. I sweet.